Hello everyone. So let's start the discussion. So our first question is bulk discount. A shop has n items for sale. The ith item has the cost A of I. You would like to purchase all n items, and the shop offers a discount. Whenever item is bought, all future purchases have their cost reduced by 1. However, the cost of the item also cannot fall below 0. Means, let us consider one example. Uh, these are the cost of the 4 items. If we buy the first item, which cost is 3, then all other costs which are in the future are reduced by 1. Means the array will become 0, 3, and 0. And after that, we can buy the next item to the 0, and if we buy this item, the other cost is also decreased. Like the next becomes 2, and the last item cannot decrease because its value is 0. So we cannot make its value to minus. So uh, we can take the array to be sorted to reduce the cost of the uh, items. So we first sort the array so that the we can take the uh, e- element to the less value. So if we sort this array, it will become 1 1 3 4. So if we per, if we purchase the first item to cost 1, cost becomes 1, and the value of other items become 0, 2, and 3. So if we buy now the second item to cost 0, so we add cost 0, and the others value is decreased by 1 such that it become 1 and 2. So if we add if we buy the third item for cost 1, so the cost increased by 1, and the item with the last item cost is decreased by 1, and it will become 1, and we can buy the last item for cost 1. So the total cost is 3. So we can buy this these all items to cost 3. So in that we are given constraint 2 into n is less than equal to 2 into 10 raised to power 5. So we cannot update for every element the future values. So we can take a count variable to count the number of elements that we have bought till now. So if we taken another example, consider an array 5, 4, 1, 3, 2. So we first sort this array. It will become 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So uh, and then if we taken first element, the cost will become 1 and the count will become 1. So after that, if we move to the next, we will reduce the second cost by the count variable, that is 2 minus 1, which is 1. So the cost we will add is 1. After that, the count is updated to 2 and we move forward. This 3 will become 3 minus 2, which is 1, and the cost is updated to extra 1. After that, and also count is updated to 3. After that, if we buy the fourth, if we want to buy fourth item, its cost is 4 minus 3, which is the count. It will become 1. So the cost is plus 1 and the count is updated to 4. Also, if you want to buy fifth item, its cost is 5 minus 4, which is also 1, and the cost is added 1. So the total cost is 5. Uh, Also, if we are let's take an example in which the cost is decreased up to 0 or less. Let's take 3, 3. If we sort this, it will become 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. So for this array, if we buy first item, the cost become 1 and the count become 1, and for the second price is reduced by 2 minus 1, which is 1. So the cost is added to 1 and count is 2. So if we want to buy third item, its value is 3 minus 2, which is 1. So the cost which will be add is 1 plus, and the count is increased to 3. So for the fourth item, the cost is 3 minus this 3 is equal to 0. So we can buy this item to the cost 0 and the count is increased to 4. And the last item, so if we reduce the cost of this item by 4, it will become minus 1. So we can reduce the cost till 0. So we take this as 0. So it will become 0. So the total cost is 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 3. Uh, did you understand this question? Anybody having doubt? Okay. So let's see the code. So uh, is code visible? Okay. So I have taken the input, the vector as input and sorted the vector, and then by traversing from 0 to n, I am calculating the cost and adding to the sum, which is if the cost is maximum of v of I from v of I minus count comma 0 ln. Such means I am taking that if the uh, if cost of the element minus the count, it will reduce to a minus value, then we will consider the 0 0 as the cost. So I am adding the cost to the a sum variable and incrementing the count for each iteration, and I am last printing the output. Okay. Did you understand the code? Okay. So let's see the second question. The second question is stable array. So in this question, we are given an array of length n, and for every second, we are following a process which is from for each I from 1 to n, 1 to n minus 1 in order. If a of I less than a of I plus 1, then set a of I to a of I plus 1. So uh, they are given they given an example, which is for if the let's take that example. 3, 1, 4, 1, 5. So, in this question, they are telling that if uh, an element is lesser than its next element, then we will update this element to the next greater element. So, in first iteration, we will be the array will become like that. So in first iteration, array will become like this: 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Also, they are asking that if A is said to be stable if none of its elements change after the process. Means we are changing the elements till all the elements become equal. Also, we have to output how many seconds will it take for A to become stable. So in 1 second, we are doing one iteration for if the next element is greater, then its we are changing its previous element. So uh, let us consider if this is taken in first iteration. In first iteration, the array will look like that, look like this. So in second iteration, the array will become 4, 4, 4. Sorry, 5, 5, 5. So in second iteration, what happened? Uh, for this 3, it will become 4 as 4 is greater than 3. After that, there is no change for this 4 as its next element is equal to this element. For this 4, it will become 5 because its next element is greater than 4. So in third iteration, the array will become 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, and uh, we want the whole array to be same value. Uh, Not same. We don't want to remain any iterations so that the array elements doesn't change. Means we don't want to update any other element after all the iterations that we have done. So in fourth iteration, we can do like 5, 5, 5, 5. So we we have taken 4 iterations to stable the array. So means stabling the array means we don't want to change the array after the number of steps which we have done uh, to uh, do these operations. So let's take another example, which is 2, 3, 3, 1, 6, 4, 1, 5. So in this array, we have to do operations like in first iteration, the array will become 2, sorry, 3, 3, 6, 6, 4, 5, 5. In second iteration, it will become as we are updating only the element which is less than the next element. So it will become 3, 3, sorry, 6, 6, 6, 5, 5, 5. In third iteration, it will become 6, 6, 6, 6, 5, 5, 5. So we have done with the operations because we cannot update any value in the array because all the elements are lesser, all the elements are equal, greater than or equal to its next element. So uh, the constraints are very high, so do we cannot iterate using two loops. So we have to take a array of maximum elements from the from last. So we will take an array which will store the maximum element up to that element from last. So we can do in that way, in that array. So it is for 5, and after that it will become 1 second. So we are taking maximum from the last, so it will become 5. The third element also 5. It's 6, 6, 6, 6. So I have taken the array with max element from last till that element. So did you understand this approach? Anybody are having doubt till now? Okay. So we have taken an array which will store the maximum element till this element from last, and we will check in the original array that if the element is if the element is not equal to the uh, element uh, element at that position in that maximum array, so we will increase the count. So if the element is not equal to the element in the max array, we will increase the count. So here 5 is equal to 5, so we will not increase the count. After that, we increase the count to 1 because 1 is not equal to 5. After that, we increase the count to 2 because 4 is not also equal to 5. Also, we will take a max count because there may be different elements in the max array. So if the if we are iterating from back, so if we found another array another element which is equal to the max array element, then we will store the max count as maximum of maximum of max count, comma, this count, and we will convert this count to 0 as we have taken a element which is equal to the max element at that position. So if we move backward, the element is not equal to the max array element, so we will increase the count to 1. Also, this is not also equal and the 2 is not also equal, so the count becomes 3. So at last we once update the max count to maximum of max count, comma, cnt. So at this time max count become 3. So are you getting the solution? Anybody having doubt? You can ask the doubt if anybody having. Okay. So let's discuss the code. We have taken the array and I am storing the maximum element till that element from last in a suffix array, and I am iterating from back to 0 till 0, and if the ith element in our given array is not equal to ith element in the suffix array, then I am increasing the count, and if it is equal, then I am calculating the maximum count, which is maximum of count, comma, maximum count, and setting the count to the 0. So at last I am uh, also checking if the max count is less than or equal to count, means I am taking the maximum of count comma max count at last. If the last element is also not equal, then this condition will not execute. So we are checking outside the loop also, and I am printing the output. So is the code clear to everyone? Okay. So let's see the third question. The third question is reverse and alternate. A binary string s of length n is said to be almost alternating if it can be converted to an alternating string. They are given that if a binary string is said to be alternating if no two adjacent characters are equal. Means we are having a single character or like 101 or 010 like that. So we can convert a string to alternating string by performing at most one operation. So we can choose two indices from L to R and reverse that substring of of the string S from L to R. So after that operation, you can see we can see the example like they are given string 10110110, and if we alternate it, if we reverse the string from 3 to 6, if we reverse the string from 3 to 6, it will become like that. If we reverse the string from 3 to 6, it will become 1 0. I think it will remain same. Okay. So they are given like that. If we reverse the string from L to R, then string will become, okay, like let's consider another example from the test cases. So if we are given this string and we want to make this string as alternating string, so we can choose uh, okay, its answer is no, so we have to reduce something. Okay. It is we can reduce this to alternating. So if we are taken this element L as this and R as this element, so we can make the string as 1 0 1 0. Means we are reversing the string from L to R. So if we are given a big string like 1 0 1 0 1. So if we are given a string like this, we have to make this string alternating. So we can do like we can choose this as L and this as R, because these are repeating characters and we don't want a repeating character in that string. So the string will become 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0. Mm, 2. Okay, the string will become like that if we reverse this string from this position to this position. So we have to determine that we can make this string alternating or not. So we have to find the we have to find that we can do a reversal such that the string will become alternating or not. So there are some conditions like if we are having two groups such that they are repeating one of two times, like 1 1 0 0. So if there are two groups in this string, they have to be different. Means if one is repeating uh, in this first group, one is repeating, and in another group, 0 is repeating. So if these two are different, then we can make this string as alternating, uh, such that we have seen that if we reverse this string from this to this. Okay, so let's take another example, like this string. In this string, only 1 1 is repeating. So if the if the string in this string 1 1 is repeating, then we can reverse the string from this to this or this to this. So the element which the end one of the end element should be not equal to this element. So if in this it is 0, so we can reverse the string from this position to this, so it will become 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1. So the string will become alternating string. But if we are having a 1 at that position, so we cannot reverse this. We cannot reverse any substring such that this string will become alternating. So if we are having only one group which are having repeating characters, then and the end elements are equal to that element which is repeating, so we cannot make this string as alternating string. And for also, if we are having two groups such that they are repeating itself, then that two groups should be not equal. So we can alternate that string from one group, this group, the second element of the first group, to the first element of the second group. So we can reverse this string from these two positions. So are you understanding the solution, or anybody having any doubt? You can raise hand if anybody having any doubt. Okay, let's. And also, if there are no groups, then it is alternating, then we don't have to do any operation. So it can be alternating if there are no groups such that they are repeating. So let's discuss the code. I am taking a vector of two sides. So if the 0 is repeating, uh, I am incrementing the count of 0th element. If the first is 1 is repeating, I am incrementing the count of the second element. So if a element is repeating, I am increasing its count, and if its count is equal to 2, if any one of its count is equal to 2, then we cannot make it as alternating string. So I am taking a boolean variable and making it as a false and breaking the loop. So if we encounter a condition like the count of the any element 0 or 1 is equal to 2 or greater, so I am breaking that, and I am out printing output as no. Else, in that, if the count is if the sum of these two counts, means count of 1 and count of 0, which is count of group of 0 and count of group of 1, is equal to 2, means this condition that we are encountering two groups which are having opposite, which are not equal. So if this is true, or there is no group which is repeating, so we can print yes. And else, if the uh, group count is 1, means any one of them is repeating, which is if you can say if 0 is repeating or 1 is repeating, not both. So if the count of group of 0 is 1, then we want to check the last element and the first element is equal to that element, means equal to 0. If they both are equal to 0, then we cannot reverse it, like we have seen in this array. If one is repeating and both are both the end elements are equal to that element, then we cannot make this alternating by reversing any substring. So we are checking for both the elements, that if if that group is coming one time, then the end elements should not equal to that element. So if all the if both the elements are equal to that element, then we are printing no. And if that element if the end element one of the end element is not equal to the element which is repeating two times, then we are printing the output as yes. So anybody having doubt in the code? You can ask if anybody is having any doubt. Okay, so let's proceed to the fourth question. So fourth question is A to B. We are given 2 points, A as x1, y1, z1 and B as x2, y2, z in 3D coordinate system. And we are starting from point A and we want to reach to the point B. So to do this, we can move in any direction in 6 coordinate directions, like up, down, left, right, front or back. So, and one step at a time. So formally one step you can choose exactly one coordinate, either increase or decrease by 1. So however, we are not allowed to move more than k steps in consecutively, means in one direction we cannot move more than k steps. So, and also we want to find the minimum number of steps required to move from A to B. So let's is this diagram is visible to everyone? Okay, let's consider a point A is here. Assume this as a 3D plane and B is somewhere here in 3D plane, and we want to move from A to B. So the steps required are, for first x coordinate, we can say that x2 minus x1, and y coordinate y2 minus y1, and for z coordinate which is z z2 minus z1. So these are the distances which we have to travel from A to B. Also we have to take this difference as absolute difference, because we are calculating the distance. The b can be anywhere. We can say that if b is here, the any one of the coordinate will be less than the x is coordinates. So we have to take the absolute difference. So the minimum steps which we are required are d1 plus d2 plus d3, but we cannot move more than k steps in one direction. So we have to find that we can go in one direction. How many steps we can grow for? We can go from in one direction. So if we taken an example, like if we taken these elements as, if this is A and this is B, and K is equal to 2. So if we calculate D1, which is equal to ABS of 2 minus 1 D2, absolute of 2 minus 1, and D3 also absolute of 2 minus 1. So D1 is 1, D2 is 1, and D3 is also 1. So we have to move one steps, distance 1 from x1 to x2, distance 1 from y1 to y2, and uh, I want to talk. Okay, and a distance 1 from z1 to z. So also we are not allowed to move more than 2 steps in one direction. So in that we can easily move, like we can first take an x and then y and then z. So this is a simple example that we can move one step in x, one step in y, and one step in z. Let's take another example, like will become 3. So if we taken this as an example, so in that we calculate d1, which is equal to 9 minus 1, 8 d2, 4 minus 3, which is equal to 1 d3, which is equal to minus 5, 0. So in that we have to move 8 steps in x coordinate, 1 step in y, and 0 steps in z. So we can so we will okay, let's take this as okay, so you can understand. So put the we will first put the steps which are greater. So we have to move x in x direction 8 steps. So and also we are not allowed to move more than k steps in one direction. So we have to break this. We have to break these x steps in some groups, like we are moving only k moves in one direction, less than or equal to k moves. So we have to divide this in 4 groups, and there are 3 breakpoints in that, and we can place the remaining y steps in between them. Means if we are having we can say that if we are having 3y, so we can put these 3y steps in between these steps, as we want to break this at 3 points. Also, if uh, there are some z elements, then it will become, if we want to move in uh, we want to move 2 steps in z direction, so we can add this z at any position in between them, like we can put this z in here or here, as it won't affect the condition, that is we can move less than equal to k steps in one direction. uh, did you getting the approach?
What if the value of z is more?
Means we want
Like now it is 2, so we can add it anywhere.
yes, if the
But if
value
it
is
is
more,
greater value, then
we are taking the maximum value, which is we are means the x is having greater value 8. Then we are first putting all x and we are calculating how much divisions, how much partitions we are required. Means here we want, let's say we want to put 8x, 6, 7, 8, and we are partitioning them at 3 points, like that. So we are taking the maximum element which is uh, in these distances and putting them first at less than equal to k times and calculating the how much partitions are required, and after that we are putting the other elements, like we have put in we have put there y, we are putting here y, and also here y. So we can also put here z or also yz. Are you getting that? Okay. So if the if we are having any elements, like if we are having here 8 and it is also 7, uh, don't consider that, we are assuming only. So also if this is the condition, then we can put here as yy, yy, or like we can put here any y, here a y, here a y. So we can put the less elements in at any position, including these breakpoints, and we must have to first include these breakpoints. So we can put all any z's here, like z 3, 4, 5. Okay. We are putting, we can put the lesser elements at any position, but there is another case. If we are having the distance greater, if the maximum distance, if the required, we can say here we are required, here we are required 3 partitions, 1, 2, and 3. But if the if these two are, the sum of these two distances is less than these required partitions, then we cannot put, we let's say we are putting here y, we are putting here z, but we want an extra character at this position. So we have to insert an extra transition from, we can say we can move from another plus z. So we have to add some extra transition, so we can add this partition position. uh, are you getting that? Like we have at least at least some this sum, the, the distances which are less than equal to the maximum, other two distances which are less than the maximum distance, less than equal to, they must be, their sum must be equal, greater than equal to the maximum distance. So if we taken the max distance as 8, so the other two distances sum of other two distances should be greater than equal to 8. So we can put these elements in between them, in between the partitions. Okay, are you getting this? Okay, so we don't require any other extra steps if these two, sum of these two distances are greater than equal to maximum distance. So if this condition happens, that if these are less than the sorry, sum of these is maximum transitions required, which are 3. If the sum of these other two distances is less than the maximum transitions required, so we have to find the extra transitions which we want to add between them. Like here we have added an extra z, and also we have to minus this. So we have added two more transitions to reach from A to B. So we have to first find out the how many transitions are required. So we can calculate that as maximum distance divided by k plus if there is if the remainder is greater than 0, then we have to add a 1. So we can say if So we have to add an extra transition. So required transition plus plus. So also we have to find, and after calculating these transitions, we can say that if we have taken this as maximum as 8 divided by k, here k is 2, so 8 divided by 2, and there is it will become 4, but we want only 3 transition, as we can put a group of x before the transition. So we are minusing one required transition, so we are reducing the transition by 1, so it will become as 3. So also we have to find extra transitions which are required to satisfy the condition. So if the required transition are greater than the sum of other two, which is, we can say that is having required transitions are 3, but the others two sum is 2, so it is greater than other two sum. So we have to find the extra transitions which are required. So these are required transitions minus this sum of these two. And also here we have seen that if we calculate as that, like extra transitions equal to required transitions 3 minus sum of these two is 2, so 1. But we have to also add an extra transition if we are adding an odd number of transition to that. Means if that extra transitions are odd, then we have to add an extra transition to reach at the required position. So at last we have to add if the extra transitions are odd, then we have to add 1 to that. So we are incrementing the extra transitions by 1. So at last we have to calculate the total steps. So uh, the minimum steps are these d1 plus d2 plus d3, but we have to add the extra transitions to that. Means you can say that steps plus equal to extra transition. So this is our answer, that we want, and we are doing these steps, and also we want extra steps which will satisfy the given condition, which we will not moving more than k steps in one direction. uh, are you getting this answer? Anybody having any doubt? You can turn on your mic and ask it out. Jay, Srishti, Harshad. Explain odd extra case. Can you ask, uh, means what you want to tell? You can turn on your mic.
You have told that for the odd condition, we have to take the extra
uh,
spaces. Just
uh,
explain that once again.
like, consider this. If we are having k and k equal to 2, so we first put the x elements. So we required we required 5 2 3 4 partitions, but we are having only two elements which are different from x, that are y and z. So here we required two steps, two extra partitions, means we required extra two steps, that we can move in any other direction, like we can move plus y, and here we can move minus y. So we are here we have added one y, and here we have minusing this y. So if the extra steps are even, so it is balanced. But if here it is 8, then we required only a plus y, means an extra, only one extra step. So here we are going an extra step in other direction. So we have to come back. So if the extra steps are odd, so we have to add an extra step, so that we will come to that position which we are required. So means here we have added plus y, so we have to balance this. So we have added an extra minus y. So if the count of that extra is odd, so we have to add an extra, means we have to add also, we have to increase this extra step, so that we will balance the uh, means we can balance the steps which we are taken, means here we have taken plus y, so we have to balance this as adding a minus y. Are you getting this? Okay, so let's see the code. So here I am first calculated the distances which we have to traverse, and added them as the minimum steps which we are required, and I am taking a vector to store these distances and sorted this in descending order. Means it is like sort v dot begin comma v dot end comma greater in. So I am sorted the vector in descending order. So here I am calculating the required steps, required transitions which we have to make, like this transition here we have added. So it is like the maximum element divided by k plus if the uh, if there is a remainder, so we are adding a 1. So here I have added only a 1 if it is if the remainder is not equal to 0, and we are incrementing the count of required transitions. As we seen that we can place the maximum steps maximum step variable before that. Means we are required only uh, this required minus 1 steps or transitions. So if these required transitions are greater than other two, sum of other two steps, like if the here we have seen that x count is required required transitions are 3 and the other two sum is 2. So we have to find the extra steps which are required. So we have taking the difference between required minus sum of these two other two. So and also if this extra is uh, odd, so we have to add an extra, we have to increment these extra steps by 1, so we can balance this. So here I am adding a 1 if it is odd, so it will give 1 if it is odd, otherwise 0. So and after that I am adding to the answer. So anybody having doubt? Srishti, Harshad? Okay. uh, so let's see the last fifth question. Reverse and alternate count. A binary string s of length n is said to be almost alternating if it can be converted into an alternating string by performing operation at most once. Means this is similar to the third question, but the- there is an there is an extra condition that we have to count the number of substrings which can be made alternating. Means we have to count the substrings which we can make alternating. In third question we have to just answer that we can make the whole string as alternating or not, but in this question we have to find all the substrings which we can make alternating. So there are some there are some conditions that we have seen in previous. Okay. That we can take at most two groups which are occurring two times. So we can say that we can take groups which are having zero uh, having zero groups. We can take substrings which are having zero groups or one group or two groups. We cannot take more than two groups such that we cannot make this substring alternating. So let's take an example. Let us consider a big string 10 11 01 01 00 10. So I am just taking a bigger string to understand, so it will clear to you that how we are taking all the groups and calculating the substrings. So let's calculate for the zero groups. Means we are not taking any group which is repeating. So in that we can take the string from so we can take a string from here to here, or we can say that another string from here to here, another string from here to here, and the is last one here. Okay. So we are partitioning the string as this so that we can take groups, we can take the substrings which are having zero groups. So uh, you know that if we want to calculate number of substrings in a string, so the total strings can be the total strings equal to n into n plus 1 divided by 2. Means n is the size of the string which is having the uh, the size of the string, and we are calculating the total substrings which we can form a string by this formula, which is n into n plus 1 by 2. So if we want to calculate for this string, it will become 3 into 4 divided by 2, which is equal to 6. For this substring, it will become 6 into 7 divided by 2, which is equal to 3 into 7, 21. For this substring, you can say 5 into 6 divided by 2, which is equal to 50. And for this 2, it will be like 4 into 5 divided by 2. So these are the substring for the uh, for the strings which we are divided. Like for the first this division, there are 6 strings which we can make alternating, and for this there are 21 substrings which we can make alternating, which are having 0 groups. So we are adding this all, like 6 plus 21 plus 15 plus 10 plus 3, which is equal to, I think it is 55. Okay, it is 55. So these are the number of substrings which are having 0 groups. So we can calculate easily for 0 groups. Like if we partition the all the substrings which are having 0 repeating groups. So the next is for 2 groups. Uh, for one group, it is little bit complicated. So saw the first will we see the for 2 groups. So if we want to take 2 groups, that we have seen in third question that if the 2 groups are opposite, then and then only we can add we can make this substring as alternative. So we can take only, and also we have to take only consecutive 2 groups which are repeating. So we can to we can take that we can take these 2 groups, or we can take these 2 groups. We cannot take substrings which are having these two groups, because these two groups are equal. So we cannot take the substrings which are having these two groups. So for calculating the number of substrings, let's take an example of a different question, which is let's see, let's take an array 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. So I am taking just an example to uh, let you know that how we are calculating the sub arrays for taking two groups. So let's consider this example array, and if we want to calculate all sub arrays having two fours, so in that we can calculate, like we have to calculate num numbers till 4 is occurred, like we are calculating these numbers, these three numbers up to 4, first 4, which are number three numbers, and we multiply this number with this range, which is from the second 4 number to the last, up to which the another 4 will not occur. Like can say that we are taking from this 4 to this, means we are taking 5, we are multiplying these three elements with this 5, so we these are the number of subarrays which are having two fours. So we can calculate like this, so that we are including the two fours in all the subarrays. Are you getting this, Prashant, Harshad? Okay. Anybody having doubt, Prashant? Okay, then let's continue. So we can calculate number of subarrays like that. So for calculating number of substrings, first we are taking we can take an string up to the first element of the next group which is repeating. So we can take first string as like that, and we can calculate, like can calculate number of substring using these three elements. 3 into, we have to calculate the string from this. Means we have to calculate the number of characters from this string to the last character, up to which we are taking only 2 groups. So in this substring there are only 15 substrings such that they are containing these two opposite groups which are repeating. So we can calculate for another substring from this element to this element, as we are taking only two groups which are having which are not equal. So we can take first L from this to this and R from this to this. So in the second we are taking 5 into 2 which are 10. So for two groups we are adding this for these two we are adding 2 which are 10 plus 50. So for two groups the total substrings which are having which can be made alternating strings are total 25. So we have calculated for 0 groups and for 2 groups. So is anybody having doubt in this? Okay, let's forward. The last part is we are taking only one group. So for one group there are two conditions, one of which we are like we seen for two groups we have to calculate substrings from which are having only one. We have to partition the strings which are having only one group. Like here we can first take a group from here to first group from here to here, the second group from here to from here to here. Means we are taking the only substring which are having only one one group which is repeating. So in that we have to calculate. Let's consider first substring till it. So it is having only one group which is repeating. So in that, as we seen in that that in which we are taking two groups, we are calculating the numbers for L from here to here, and for R from this to this position. So we are calculating the all the substrings which are having this subgroup. So these are 3 into 6 equal to 18. But there is another condition, which is we can't take a group which are having similar endpoints. Like here, one is repeating, and we cannot take a substring from this one to this one, as the end elements are equal to this group. So we have to minus the substrings which are having these endpoints equal, both endpoints equal to this group. So we are calculating the number of similar characters to this group. Like from in L, there are two characters, this one and this one. So first are 2, and multiplying this with which are having from this R, in this R range, similar characters which are having in this R range. So from this there are 3 ones from in R range. So first is this one, second is this, and third is this. So we are multiplying these two numbers, and we have to minus this from the total strings. So the total will become difference between these two arrays, the difference between these two calculations. Like we are minusing the strings which are having similar endpoints. So we can, for the first substring which is having 1 as a group as repeating, so its calculation is 18 minus 6, which is equal to 12. So like that we can calculate for other strings, like from here to here, and from this to this, and also there is another from this end to this end. So these are the 4 substrings which we can take to calculate the number of subarrays, number of substrings which we have to calculate by using this method. So let's discuss the code. So we are first taken the string as input, and we are taking the we are storing the position of the element which are repeating, means we are taking the first position of these elements which are repeating. So we can say that we are taking the vector, and in that we are storing this first occurrence. And if there is no groups in that vector, means if there is no element in the vector, we can simply output the total number of strings that are n into n plus 1 divided by 2. But if it is not, then we have to calculate the for first, which is for 0 groups, for 2 groups, and for 1 group. So in that I am checking for first uh, first position. So I am directly multiplying this with for 0 groups, we are calculating like n into n plus 1 divided by 2, which in which n is the size of the substring. So I am taking directly first as v of 0 plus 1 into v of 0 plus 2 in divided by 2, as there is no any group before that group. So we have to take all the characters before that group. So we are taking like that, and uh, by iterating in the these positions, we are taking the difference between the position of the first position of the group, this group, and the first position between the next group. So we are we will find so let's take, so if we are I am taking the difference between this position and this position. So we will get the size of the substring, size of this substring. So and we are taking the size into size plus 1 divided by 2 to calculate all the substrings. And for the last, I am calculating using n minus 1 minus the uh, size minus the position of the last occurrence of the group into n minus position of the last group divided by 2. So for the last substring, we can directly minus it from the n. And for the next two, we are taking two groups. We are just we are simply calculating these numbers which are from up to which there is no subgroup, and till the occurrence of the next group, which is in which we are taking these two. Like if we taken this group from this to this, and we are checking for the previous, I am just taking previous as minus 1 for first, and I am minusing this previous from the position of the first of position of the that occurrence of that group, and the also the third group which is also having the repeating groups. So, and difference between the third group and second group, as we are taking only two groups, and I am setting the previous as the the position of the calculated group. Here also we have to check that these two groups are not equal. So I am checking s of v of I is not equal to s of v of I plus 1. Then for one group, as we discussed, we are calculating the two numbers from which are from this position, the position of the group which we are taking, and previous. So first I am taking it as -1 because we have to take all the elements before that, and I am updating the previous as position of that group, and I am taking the n2 as the if it is not equal to if I is not equal to m minus 1, then I am taking as v of I plus 1 minus v of I. So it will give me the range in this format. So from this to this element, and I am calculating also the number of substrings which we want to minus from this substring, which are having similar endpoint. So in that I am taking the seal of the this this n1 and n2, and minusing these two multiplications from n1 into n2, so that we are reducing the all the substrings which are having similar endpoints to the similar to that group, and at last I am printing the total sum of this uh, elements, all the substrings which we can make as alternating substrings. So thank you everyone for joining.